try to be short as we are already running over. And I think this illustrates the wealth of information and the large amount of work that all the presenters have done. I could see that all the presentations had also a lot of supplementary slides, so I think we could have gone on for quite a bit longer. Let me briefly summarize. So I think a couple of key takeaways on the drivers and the impacts of the triple planetary crisis. It's challenging to model all the impacts in one modeling framework, but we already saw also in the first session that there's a lot that can be modeled and a lot of impact channels that can be quantified. And as news is coming in that over the past 12 months, we may have reached already the 1.5 degree mark, I think it's important to keep doing this research on climate impacts and impacts of also pollution and biodiversity. A couple of points that require perhaps a bit more attention in future work is the representation of land use details in economic models. I think we have seen a couple of good examples today. The interactions across different impacts, it's difficult to model all these interactions, but I think it's even more difficult to wrap your head around all these interactions without a model. So I think models can be really useful to quantify these interactions and show which ones are essential. The compound risks or the potential of amplification of one impact category on the other, I think that's something that may require a bit more attention. And then there was also useful comments on how to capture these short-run or extreme events in long-run global models. And I guess the same would apply also to tipping points and some other impact categories. Then on pollution, it was mentioned that more work could be done on pollution. Indeed, let me point out that the OECD, our modeling team, has been doing work on plastics. So we have published the Global Plastics Outlook, and later this year, we will also come out with the Regional Plastics Outlook. Then moving to the modeling for policy. So on the impacts, I think we have seen a lot of these compound effects, that one crisis makes the other crisis worse. On the policy side, we've heard a lot about synergies, but also we have seen how models can point out potential unintended consequences. So the presentation of Shinichiro, I think, was a good example of the impact of afforestation on biodiversity. And it shows that the policy design can be essential to reap the synergies that might be there. A strong message that also came out is that different types of models can be used for different purposes. Different types of models can support policymaking along in the different stages, going from target setting to policy design and implementation. And there might be a trade-off between the breadth and the depth of assessments, but modeling efforts should try to bridge from local policies to global targets, and that's, of course, an ambitious endeavor. Then further on policies, it was clear that it's essential to have policy-relevant models, policy-relevant scenarios that take into account also concerns about acceptability and equity. A famous quote from a Belgian politician says that he has the solution to climate change, it just doesn't know how to get elected afterwards. And I think that's a key consideration, especially when thinking about the triple planetary crisis. And as Anil said, the models are incomplete if we cannot make the connection to actual policies, from policies to impacts and solutions. I think we've seen also a couple of good examples today. The work of Wilfried to illustrate what would be priority in reducing air pollution, and for nitrogen also Tom showed a couple of examples on how to design optimal policies. Now, finally, on the integrated modeling, I'd like to go back to Steve's opening remarks that modeling provides a useful skeleton, but there's a risk that the skeleton is a bit disjointed. So I think today we saw a very good illustration that the model community is moving towards more integrated systems. And actually, we've heard not about models, but modeling ecosystems and modeling frameworks. And once you open the box that is the model, you find actually many more boxes that are linked together. And I think that's a useful way forward. And this points out that the interdisciplinary approach is really useful, really valuable. It's challenging sometimes. You run into translation issues, but it's absolutely necessary for tackling the triple planetary crisis. So combining models is a way forward. Also, reduced form approaches can help, as they are easily adopted by other modeling teams. And the TM5 fast model, the magic model, yield curves, this kind of output is typically not considered as a final product of research, but is very useful to be shared across the community. So combination of models is essential, and then comparison of models is also useful to move towards more robust assessments. And we've heard some calls today for further comparison of models. So that was also the idea of today's workshop, to bring together people from different communities. So the sessions were set up to have economists and integrated assessment or ecological modelers in the different sessions to facilitate a bit of this knowledge transfer. And the other aim was also to bring together policymakers and have insights from the policy side and discussions with the modeling community. And I think the workshop was successful in that respect. So for now, for us, the challenge is to take home all these insights and go to work on the environmental outlook. We might require a bit of time to digest all the insights and the inputs. But before we do that, I suggest we go to the reception. So I thank you all for your valuable contribution to the workshop.